Today I got another review for you guys. We're going to be talking about Guidi, specifically the Guidi 992 Derbies. Before I get into the review, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It really helps me out. If you have subscribed, I like you. But do leave me a like either way. It really helps the channel grow. I'm not going to make you wait for it. I'm just going to cut right to the chase because I know what you're here for. Boom! The Guidi 992 with its enormous laces. I love this shoe. I loved this shoe for a while. This is the only piece of Guidi footwear I own right now. Hope to own more in the future. I do own a belt. What is it with me and belts? Just a really beautiful shoe overall. If you know anything about Guidi, you know that their leather craftsmanship is really their selling point. It's just so... I hope that the camera really picks it up. If not, I'll record a little extra footage on the side, but you can just see such a beautiful texture in the shoe, and the way it molds and forms over time, I think, is really the selling point here. They're a really interesting brand because they're all about like heritage leatherwork and craftsmanship, and yet they devote themselves, I shouldn't say and yet, but I guess to me it's just a little odd that they devote themselves to this kind of avant-garde, edgier space, when they could be something like an Hermes or a John Lobb or something who really devotes themselves to like clean lines and sophistication. They're like, no man, we want to get a little edgy with it. But thank God for them, because I think it's a really interesting brand because of that embracing of this kind of edgy, a little bit out there aesthetic. As you can see with the Guidi 992, I think this shoe has a lot of imitators, especially in that kind of dark fashion, goth fashion space. But to me, this is sort of the quintessential derby for this look, with a little bit of this sort of bulbous, some might say clown shoe, not me. If you get them in red, okay, now we're talking. And I kinda do want them in red. But just the classic black. This model here, actually, you know what? Let me show you the box. So this is the box they come in. It's kind of a small box. I will note for future reference that I got these pre-owned, which we'll talk about later. I'm actually going to probably title this video something like watch before you buy, something like that, just because there's a number of things that I probably would have done differently and may trade this, buy a new pair in the future. So as you can see, the kind of Guidi stamp right there. Like I said, relatively small box. It's very simple, obviously. It's just a white box. Comes with just, you know, your standard tissue paper and a rice bag. A very simple little rice bag. I've never used it for storing these shoes. And a little card. Actually, that's kind of interesting. So I'm a little out of my depth because, like I said, I've only bought a belt besides these, and I got these secondhand from Zen Market, so Yahoo Japan, basically. I think this is actually from the shipper, but somebody out there who has a pair that was fresh, maybe they can tell me if they got a similar card. Also, I'd be curious to know, so this pair has this writing on the side, which you can see says, size 44, which I got them in, baby calf full grain. Now that's interesting. I should actually go back and 992. I should go back and look at my listing because I thought these were horse leather. Most of the pairs that you see, I think you'll find are horse leather, but they do all sorts of leather materials. Like I said, they're a really interesting company. They work in a bunch of different leathers. They're master leather workers, and it's interesting to know when you go to buy it what kind of leather you're going to be buying, because let's get into sizing a little bit. So I bought a size 44, as you saw. The conventional wisdom with these is to go up. And I'm actually going to go against the grain here. Grain, leather grain. Hilarious. And say I actually don't think I would do that again. And let me tell you why. So I've put shoe trees in here. I don't know, you don't have to. I think I want to preserve the shape as much as possible. But as I mentioned, that beautiful sort of folding that you'll see, and you really see this a lot on a pair of, I'm gonna get this wrong, but I want to say 917. Now I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna bother me. 788. I was way off. Which actually, the back zip boots, that's what I'd like to get next. They are quite expensive. But if you look at those, you notice in particular, because they kind of ride all the way up in the front, that they create these really beautiful folds in the leather. Similar effect going on with the 992s to a lesser extent because there's the vamp or whatever in the laces. But when you buy this shoe, it comes smooth and it kind of molds to your foot. Same thing with the, I've already forgotten what it was, 772, 792, who knows? Let's come up with some better names for our footwear, Guidi. But a similar thing. So So you kind of want it to mold to your foot. So that being said, I actually think getting a size that is appropriate to your size, or maybe even what could be considered a little snug, couldn't hurt you in this case, because I think it's going to expand and it's going to kind of mold and form to your foot, and it's going to create those unique folds that are unique to you and kind of make it your shoe. So that's one regret with these. Like I said, kind of watch this before you buy. Ultimately, it's your call, but I think I would honestly go for a new pair if I were to buy these rather than a pre-owned pair, because to some extent, I love the folds, I love the grain, but it almost feels like somebody else's shoe, and it is. But like I almost miss the opportunity to have made this my own, and it would form and crease exactly the same way. But all that being said, when we're talking about sizing, I'm a true 10.5, which you would probably roughly say is like a 43.5. For most designer shoes, I usually go down to a 43 because they don't make half sizes. With these, everyone said go up, so I went up to I almost went up to a 45, based on the way some people were talking about these. But I went to a 44, and they do fit, do not get me wrong. But again, as you can see with that bulbous toe box, there's a lot of room in here for the piggies, all right? So I think I could get away with a 43. Would I do that next time? I don't know, because I get very nervous I hate having my toes pinched, but I don't think I'm at risk with it for these. So when I walk around, they feel a little loosey-goosey. Not bad, certainly, but yeah, just something to think about. I guess I'd just say, when people online say go up, just take it with a grain of salt. I think if you're like a true 43, get a 43. Like I said, I'm a 43.5, and I feel like I could do a 43 in these, and they would stretch out over time. Now, the other thing worth mentioning is, like I said, they make these in a bunch of different leathers. I feel like horse leather is the most common that I've seen. Sometimes donkey leather, I think I see. And these being calf is going to be more flexible and stretch more than a horse leather will. So horse leather, I think, is a little bit more durable, a little bit more stiff. So your mileage may vary there. If you're getting these in calf, they're probably going to stretch and mold a little bit more to your foot. I also think, for what it's worth, people always overstate how much something is going to stretch. I've never had a shoe stretch out on me like that much. And if you're a freak like me who has a bajillion pairs of shoes, you don't get that much opportunity to wear them and stretch them out anyways. But that's where shoe trees come in handy. Now, if that's not enough rambling for you, look at the beautiful details on this shoe. I hope you can make it out there. This grain is fantastic. Not that anybody asks, but if I ever did I love fantasizing about this kind of thing, a Jordan 1 collaboration, or a Nike Jordan collaboration, whatever. Do you ever fantasize about this? Like, if they asked you, what would you do? I think all I would do would be a simple black and white, or like black and cream shoe, and I would partner with Guidi to get their leather, because it's so buttery and beautiful, and the way it folds and has this like lovely texture. I can't say enough good things about it. It's fantastic. Some details of this shoe, and something I guess I didn't even quite realize when I was shopping for it and looking at people wearing it. These laces are unbelievably long. And I've seen people do this a number of ways. I've seen them do them where they like really, I'll try and find some pictures to put up on screen, but like tie them folded over a bunch of times on themselves, so it's a really like thick and intense knot. But the way I do them is I wrap them around the shoe like this, like 2 or 3 times, or I guess not 2 or 3 times, like 1 time usually, and then tie them there. So they kind of nestle in this little thing here. And it works okay. They tend to actually want to slip forward a little bit, so you want to kind of tie them tight. But I think it's a pretty cool look. Just something to keep in mind, like, oh my god, these laces are hugely long. Another thing that I would say about buying these new as opposed to used is, if you can't tell, one thing that I didn't quite realize from this seller, and I bought them from Japan, so good luck getting any kind of refund or anything, these are fairly cooked on the heel. Not unusable by any means, but if you can see that, they've gotten some mileage on them. So kudos to the person who wore these to death. I wonder if the other one has any. I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but that heel has seen better days. Now, I could put heel taps on these. This one might even be worse. I could put heel taps on these and probably give them a little bit more life, and I may do that someday, but for now, I'm okay with it. Like I said, they've still got life on them. I could probably also get them resold, but I feel like part of owning a shoe like this is its history, and it wears its wear. That's a bad sentence. Let's rework that. Wears its scars, battle damage, on its sleeve. It's like a badge of honor that you've put these through the ringer. So to some extent, buying them used actually does have its advantages. I get that patina, that lovely patina right away. Something to note, I think it's always a good idea to look out for signs of them being fake. Just any high price luxury item you're gonna get. There's a Guidi subreddit. I would actually recommend posting your pics in there of something before you buy it. One thing that people often note is this stamp on the inside is usually a big giveaway for fakes. Like, a lot of the fakes don't get it right. It's also, again, I record in a pretty dark room, but this is a really cool detail. The way that they hammer these like nails in here, and they kind of use like rusty nails. They're like pre-rusted. It's really cool. The aesthetic of Guidi reminds me a lot of Carol Christian Pole, who I don't own any shoes from. Someday probably will, but that, I think somebody put up like a fashion tier list iceberg, and like the levels of like hell are like Carol Christian Pole. So if I ever get there, just know I'm in fashion hell. But yeah, that sort of level of like intentional distressing damage, embracing rust and decay. Again, that's something really cool for like a heritage quality craftsmanship Italian brand to be like, no, we're gonna put nails in these. Our metal is gonna be pre-rusted. That's so interesting. Again, that's actually true of the bison belt that I have as well, is the little hardware has like a pre-rust corrosion on it. Really cool. And again, just when I was first getting into fashion and this kind of look, I did a sketch of a look I wanted to put together, and it had a shoe like this on it. It was basically this shoe, possibly even before I knew this shoe existed. So with that being said, I think it's a great wardrobe piece. You know, I'm a little ashamed because I've only worn these out a handful of times. And I don't know if it's the thing where I feel like, oh, you know, I want to get my own fresh pair and mold them to my own feet. As I'm looking at them, I'm like, I gotta wear these more often because this shoe is sick. It's the kind of thing that I don't, even though I have it in my closet, I don't reach for it that often, and I really need to. So if you're ever in the mood to buy a new pair of shoes, just look at what you already got. It's right there, baby. Shop your own closet, as they say. There's the stamp on the bottom. This is 44, just for legit checking purposes. In terms of where and how to buy, like I said, I got these used. If you want to go that route to save yourself a little bit of money, do check Yahoo Japan, Zen Market, From Japan, things like that, because they have a decent following in Japan. And I got these a little bit ago, maybe even like 2 years ago. So your mileage may vary. Everything's gotten more expensive recently, but I think I got these for only like 400, which with the level of cookitude they have, that might be a little much, but you can definitely get around that area. I think if you're looking on Grailed, lowball somebody, see what you can get. In the new market, at least a couple years ago, if you're patient, you can definitely get some serious discounts on these. I think these tend to retail for just shy of 1,000, like 900 something. I've seen them go to like 600s on Essence. I don't know that I've seen that recently, and usually the sizes are pretty picked over. But I gotta be honest with you, the best prices I've seen are just randomly Googling Guidi 992 and seeing the current offers. Like, there's the most random retailers have these, like places you wouldn't really think of, like Italist, I think will sometimes have them, and Antonioli or something, and just price compare. See what's on sale, see if it's in your size. This is a shoe that they will keep making until the end of time. So you're really not in any huge rush to get it. Just try not to overpay. I definitely wouldn't pay, like, unless you need these right now, I wouldn't drop 900. I wouldn't pay retail for these. Wait for a sale. Fascinate carries a lot of these, actually. Fascinate.jp or .co or whatever it is. Just Google Fascinate clothing, because they operate in a bunch of countries. But they did announce, I was watching some like red back zip boots, and they announced like a special thing like, hey, Guidi's raising their prices. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, just keep your eye on resale sites if you want to go that route. But if you want to go new, don't pay retail price. You can get these on sale. It's a beautiful shoe. It's a great company. This derby, I think, is a good starter shoe to Guidi. I think they're maybe a little bit more known for their boots, but you know, it's a lower price point investment. You can kind of check your sizing. I think sizing might be a little different between the boots and shoes. You know, a boot is gonna wrap all the way up your foot. So actually in that case, you might even be a little bit more inclined to go a larger size, because it's not like it's gonna fall off your heel or anything. It's going up your ankle. The quality is really good. You know, I will say this. Everyone's got haters. And I've seen some people say like, oh, Guidi quality has gone downhill, or make sure you get a pair from a couple of years ago. I can't speak to that. It would surprise me. Maybe it wouldn't surprise me, because everything sucks now. But, you know, I think some people just like to be haters. Stop hating, you know? I have not seen any significant evidence of like a quality decline. But again, I'm not buying Guidis every 6 months. If you have experienced it, sound off in the comments, let us know. But I think they're a really solid brand. They do really cool stuff, and they fit in really well with kind of a dark goth fashion aesthetic. Especially those boots, man. A pair of Guidi back zips or front zip boots paired with like some flowing black Hakama pants or whatever looks just so dope. And these look really good with like some stacked black denim or something. So that's my review of the Guidi 992. If you have any questions that I didn't answer, let me know. I'm trying to think of anything else I need to hit, but I think I pretty much covered it. I guess the only other thing I'd say is that, like I said, they make these in a number of materials. They also make them in a number of colors. So I've seen red. Besides black, red seems to be one of the ones they do most often. They do a lot of grays too, but they'll do some seasonal colors too. So I've seen these in like a puke yellow. Love that for them. I think I've seen some like purple ones, and sometimes they mess around with like a little bit of both. So they'll do like I think I've even seen some like suede ones. Don't quote me on that if I'm wrong. And then they do a bunch of variations. So that's something to really watch out for. A lot of the time if they do a variation, it'll be like Guidi 992Z or something. And it'll just have something a little off with it. So if you want the classic, just try and get that number by itself, or just really pay attention to what you're buying. A lot that I see with the 992s is they'll do some with a really stacked heel. They do a variant where it's like really bulbous and built out. Now that might be something you're going for, especially if you're a short king, but just know pay attention to those small details, because they do a lot of variation. But yeah, I think that's my review for the day. Please again, do hit subscribe if you like this kind of thing, and of course leave a like, but otherwise I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.